Which would be pretty cool. And make it. Gosh dang. Maybe losing your voice, old son.
No, it's not that. It's just when I breathe in, I feel like I got sick 3 times in the last. That was a premature ejaculation there, bro.
It must have been a while, because look at the height of this pod. Who you been podcasting with?
Nobody. It must have got bumped. Somebody's gonna have a disappointing finale at the end of that pop, buddy.
Right on. We're back in black, Jack.
It was absent of that.
Yeah. Not as many fireworks. This is good flavor.
The number of people, right? That's a good one.
No, I'm serious. It's very nice.
I really like that one.
Sour apple.
Yeah. The ridiculous amount of crap you give for people for popping their top early, I have to give you some shit.
Oh, I know. I'd be busting their nuts right now.
Like, gee, what are you doing? Oh my God.
So sour apple. Does this remind you of the Warheads a little bit? Do you remember Warheads?
I never did Warheads, but it reminds me very much of Sour Apple Jolly Rancher.
Yeah.
Like almost nailed it. Which I've had that on 3 or 4 of the flavors from Jocko's.
Yep.
That it tastes just like some form of Jolly Rancher to me.
Listen to that fire pop, and we've been accused of having a fake fire.
Yeah, we always have real fire. Always.
Yeah.
Never.
Well, today we're going to do something we've never done before. And maybe Josh has never done on the internet before.
Oh, God. I will not do that, Tim.
Do you know what that is, though?
I don't think I want to know what that is. What?
Admit we were wrong.
I think I've admitted I was wrong before.
On the internet?
Yeah, I think I have, but
okay.
maybe not. All right.
All right. Well, why don't you lead off? Just admit that we were wrong. And
well, we would like to apologize. However, our original video for the Chris B comments, we hadn't seen the video. Right?
Well, we saw the video.
Well, I only watched part of it.
Yeah.
I only watched part of it originally, and the purpose of that was so we could watch it live and comment on it.
Yeah, we were literally on the podcast with the iPad trying to react
we were trying to get it to pull up and couldn't find it.
Yeah, which was new to me that it was down. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So you're watching groundbreaking news. We're looking for the pod, or not the pod, the video, and it was down.
So we had to go off of our assumed memory of what we had seen.
Yeah.
And we were wrong on some of the things that we talked about. I called a friend of mine that works for that company to try to get, hey, what happened really? So I know.
Yeah.
So we can comment back on it. And apparently the story goes, which did I establish we're sorry we were wrong adequately? Well, or am I making excuses? I'll just say, I'm sorry I'm wrong.
I think it was good. I just like to state to the fact that we were wrong.
We were wrong.
But with the information we had, we were just talking about what we knew, which I guess sometimes is easy to forget that, many, many people are listening to this.
This is true. Well, and those same people are probably into watching stuff on YouTube and on the internet and whatnot. So when stuff like that comes out, they're probably watching it the day it happens.
So we got fact checked basically, and our facts weren't in order. And I don't know. Go ahead with where you were from there.
Well, so like I said, I called my buddy who works for that company and said, "Hey, can you tell me what really actually happened, just so I'm not conveying bad material?" And apparently, Chris did shoot 2 water buffalo, and the first one he shot at was quartering towards him. He took a quartering shot on his first shot.
Yeah.
Which I will state you should never do.
Yeah.
That was a bad decision. That was wrong. I defended the guy because he was getting beat up so hard because I never saw that. I didn't see that shot a first one on your first one, on your quarter 2 frontal. But after you've already shot it, shoot it again, sure. Whatever you can do, whatever you got to do, I get that. But
I guess he didn't recover the first one, is the story.
I believe that's the case, yes. That was how it was explained to me. They lost the first one.
And also, everyone has said that he wasn't using mechanical either because his outfitter didn't want him using mechanical.
No, it was not. It was fixed blade. I know that for a fact. I can't remember which one it was, but my buddy who works there knew which one it was.
But part of this that
I just draw a blank
was new to me, or I guess my perspective just wasn't alert to, is there's a bunch of controversy about bow hunting in Australia right now, which is super sad. And it sounds like that was really bad timing for for what was going on in Australia. I guess Southern Australia is on the edge of losing some bow hunting rights. And it sounds like maybe that video didn't help them, or maybe it was used in the wrong way, repurposed in the wrong way. I don't know. I don't fully understand because I'm not from Australia, but I've seen enough Australian opinions to know that might have been just a tough look for for Australia.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Which sucks, man. It just sucks to hear that any privileges like that are being needled away at, especially bow hunting. Like to take a bow and the privilege to bow hunt out of a people's hands that's super frustrating. And it's the same, sounds like the same playbook that gets used here, which is they use some emotional marketing, which is like some dude shot a pet, is what they say. And then they repurpose that material and they make it out to appeal to the empathetic. We need some.
Yeah, a little more wood on the fire.
Yeah, so you can imagine a big sad commercial marketing campaign about animals getting shot with pets. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I get that, and it's unfortunate when you give people that ammunition to use, it's likely going to get used against you in a bad way, and that's the unfortunate deal with that. But it raised a lot of the questions of, I know in the past, Africa for a while there were certain animals you couldn't hunt with a bow, and it got opened back up. This is a long time ago, but I could have sworn that you couldn't hunt elephant with a bow for a while because an elephant got shot and it ended up like stomping a whole tribe or something like that. So this stuff does happen and there's consequences for it. And it's just unfortunate that somebody that had the access to the information and the ability to edit it and control the edit didn't think better about that. Like I still don't get why he even showed it. Like, it's one thing to, acknowledge it or say, "Hi, I screwed up." It's another thing to put it out where anybody can see it.
Yeah.
That was just, I wonder if he has nothing to do with his editing and somebody just didn't know better.
Yeah.
That was editing it. Or,
you might not. And then the other thing is, a lot of times, especially a person coming into filming hunting, is like, I'm going to tell the story how it happened, and
sure,
that's one perspective. But as you gain reach, you got to make some decisions on those kind of things. And ultimately it just ends up in the user's hands, how they want to tell their story, and it's their story to tell. So, you know,
no, you're not wrong. And I'm sure that he's probably learned from this experience, and you won't see something like that again. But it's almost like you let the genie out of the bottle, and he's got a freaking big following.
Yeah.
Like a ton of people saw
it. Comes with a lot of responsibility, which, you don't always feel. Like if you and I were sitting down editing a video, we don't feel the weight of 100,000 people seeing that. But that can be the reality of the internet, and
you hit something just right, and you can get that blow. But either way, it's a lot, and it's unfortunate. But just to reiterate it again, we were wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. We were just going off of what
our intentions were good.
Our intentions were good. Yeah. We were just going off of what we knew, but what we knew was inaccurate.
And I want to close the case on this a little bit, because I'm sure Chris doesn't, every time this gets recycled, it's probably hard to hear and probably wants it in the back window or
wants
whatever.
Wants it to go away, sure.
And respectfully, I can understand how that is. There are some people, the internet's weird, and you never know when you're going to pop off or get famous. I'm not sure the hunting public would have known that they were going to be famous 3 years ago, or Chris B 5 years ago may have not known he was going to be famous. Yeah. And, that could happen to someone who's 17 years old or 40 years old. Like, you don't know when it's going to happen. But these guys are young too.
Yeah.
They're young. And as you're young, like experience is the hardest thing to pay for. It's impossible. Experience is always earned.
Yeah.
So, you got to understand that although these people are still learning things, and you and I are still learning things, they're learning in front of a massive audience.
Right.
So it's okay to give them some grace and to not come down with the hammer when something bad happens.
Yeah, there's always going to be a percentage of people that immediately go to the worst case thing. But like what I was trying to say in that video is like, hey, have you ever wounded an animal? Have
Yeah.
you ever lost an animal? Then shut up. You don't deserve the right to come down on somebody like that. Taking a quartering shot on your first arrow on that size of an animal was a very poor decision.
Yeah.
But the secondary parts of that were not.
Yeah.
So, but you know,
And-
being in the public eye and seeing that's honestly that's part of the reason why I haven't wanted to video into my hunting.
Yeah.
I don't want to be nitpicked apart.
Yeah.
You know, it's where you get most of the criticisms from. I mean, when you look at the criticism, the public criticism or issues that Dan's ever gotten, it's always been around hunting.
Right.
Right. What
It's not been around videos.
What criticism has Chris B ever got other than around hunting?
Right.
Right. You know, and it's just that's what the hot button topic almost always is.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start throwing that in there, and you're going to open yourself up to 100 times the criticism that you were already dealing with.
Yeah.
Before.
One thing, this is a little bit of a sidebar off topic, but one thing that is wild to me is that when I was growing up, I loved watching hunting shows. I would put on the outdoor channel or whatever, the sportsman channel, and watch outdoor shows in the afternoons or whatever. I loved it. And I always felt like the person's style that I loved the most was Jim Shockey.
Mm-hmm.
You ever watch a Jim Shockey hunting show?
I have.
Well, now that I know a lot more about media and how it's made and storytelling, I still look back at those Jim Shockey shows and I'm like, he was so far ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And he was doing such a good job. Like, he had a little camcorder he would vlog on. He always had really high quality footage and really high quality storytelling. And I bet if those were released today, it's like timeless. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
and that guy was wild. Like, he went to wild places, man. He would go to third world countries, and imagine the logistics involved with trying to bring a camera crew to a third world country where your cameras might be more valuable than the house you're staying in.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I still look back at his storytelling and I'm like, a lot of people have done it, and I'm like, I really like his style. It was good.
Yeah.
You know? And
And he stood the test of time.
Yeah.
He really has.
And what I feel to me is like a modern version of that, a little more updated or a style that I really like is the Seek One guys.
Yeah.
I really like I really like how they film, their style, their storytelling. I got to meet Lee in San Antonio with you, and he's just as genuine off camera as he is on.
Yeah.
And they're also killing really big stuff and putting a ton of effort into that. So
that might be the most challenging position to be in, really.
Yeah.
That specific group.
Yeah.
Because they're always hunting really close to stuff and really challenging.
Oh yeah, you can see things going sideways.
You can see
quick.
it go sideways so fast.
Yeah.
Like hats off to them. I mean, I don't think anybody's putting more effort in or working harder.
And it's also a challenging filming style. Something that I typically gravitate away from a little bit is when you're filming not long form is the right word, but over a long course of time. So say you've had interactions with the deer over the course of a year or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You're just bankrolling that footage the whole time.
Right.
To repurpose at some point that you're going to use. So.
Which I can say firsthand, what a nightmare to keep your old footage and catalog it and organize it.
Yeah, organize it.
Oh my God, there's just so much. And
go back and tell that story and do it in a way that's cohesive and stuff like that. So
it's just bonkers.
It is kind of hard when you think about it, right?
Yeah, like I don't know how I'd do it. I mean, I'm sure you'd try, but how easy it would be to lose it.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, I lost that footage of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd it
and
go?
we talk about trail cam
crashed.
footage, iPhone footage, main A camera footage. It's just like, it's a lot.
The organization you'd have to have would be immense, and that is not my strong suit.
Yeah. So it's cool. I think they're doing a good job. All that to be said.
Yeah, for sure.
And Lee's been teasing that he's got like some mega buck that is going to blow everyone's sock off. So we'll see. Hopefully he gets to harvest it.
Yeah.
Well, but it's crazy to think that guy's chasing a buck that is like bigger or as big or mind-blowing as something he's already shot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Those guys that dedicate their life to that are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
They really are.
And just to be able to dedicate it in just like a singular way, like that's really all you're doing. You're making that your pursuit.
Right.
Because I can do that for a while, but then I'm always like, I always veer off towards something else. Like, maybe I could do that for whitetail for 5 years, but then the next 5 is probably elk or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
know.
that's kind of been my progression in
Yeah.
life as I've moved from species to species to
Yeah.
species. I've never stayed with the same one. I've never been that junkie that
Like your
gets
buddy,
caught.
yeah, like your buddy Dan chasing elk.
Yeah,
Who doesn't even shoot elk anymore because he wants them so big, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can't remember the last time that Evans actually killed a bull. Well, and he makes a really good point. It's like if you want to kill a 400-inch bull, you can't shoot a 390 bull.
No.
You can't shoot a 380 bull. You've got to give every minute of every day to it. Well, and he, like I say, he doesn't really hardly even eat it anymore because he's vegetarian for the most part. I know he plays that line a little bit, but in general, yeah, it just doesn't. You know, it's pretty bonkers. But he's also not trying to, use his image to sell product. Yes,
Right.
he has a product line, but
Yeah.
it's like something to do.
Oh, he's definitely not. He's doing the opposite of that.
Yeah, he's doing the opposite. Like
Yeah.
he could care less if that business grows. It's just things that he liked that he thought would work well. And like I say, he just wants to kill the biggest bull, period.
Yep.
And you can't kill the biggest bull by killing the second biggest bull.
Yeah.
You just can't.
So we're in the heat of September. I mean, there's definitely a bull bugling right now, this very moment.
Yep.
What's you've done a little elk hunting. What's your rut report? How's that going?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So last year at the end of the season, I had a piece of property that was next to mine that was timber ground that was north facing slope in old growth timber, really old clear stuff. You could walk right through it. That I was pretty sure was where they'd bed, and that all got butchered, like clear cut. Not a thing left standing. Period. And that was the only real good sized patch of old growth timber that was near me.
North face bedding. Type stuff.
Yeah. So I was concerned that the elk might not come back because they never stay there all year. They're usually there right before hunting season starts, and then they are up there until the snow gets, too much. They come and go, right? But you'd see elk every 3, 5, 7, 10 days, somewhere in there. No matter what, you'd always see an elk or a herd, just depends. And I didn't see an elk. Last picture I had of an elk was in mid-August, mid to late August, yeah. And haven't seen one since. I was up there for 8 days, maybe 9, 8 or 9 days. I didn't hear a bugle. There's no elk around my property anywhere near it. I messaged all my neighbors, some of them that hunt and some that don't. It's like, hey, when's the last time you seen an elk? Month and a half.
Well, part of the reason I know you wanted to stick it out was because in years past, what would happen is MFJJ would roll out, and the elk would roll in.
Yeah, and
I think that happened 2 years in a row. Or 3?
It did 2 years in a row in early season. Last year in early season, I came back here to shoot that title video.
Yeah,
I was gone one day.
Yeah,
like I left in the morning, drove back here, filmed it, edited it, scheduled it, got back in the truck and drove back. Got back after dark, and in the evening before dark, they went into where I would have been sitting, where I would have picked to sit. Whole herd piled in. I'm like, God damn it. But this is the first year ever since I've had it that it's September 18th, and there's not a picture of an elk, not one. So I'm a little worried. My fears are true. Is that's their bedding area, and that's why they were comfortable being up there, and their bedding area is gone, and there's not a suitable bedding area anywhere near. So they're just going to be gone for good, which really sucks because I've put so much time, effort, and energy into that place with the purpose of making it somewhat of an elk habitat huntable
sanctuary,
area.
a little bit.
That was the whole point, but I didn't own their bedding area, so I couldn't stop that from happening.
Yeah, and to truly cultivate an elk sanctuary, if you were to hope to, you got to have a lot of land because elk are nomadic. They need certain things, and that's just something that I guess was out of your hand or whatever.
Well, to get them to even come up to your place for 3 or 4 days at a whack, to be part of their nomadic movements, you have to be able to provide them a couple of things. And
food, water, cover.
Yeah, and there's not enough cover left on my property from when it was cut. And granted, it's been a while, long time, but it's still not enough cover to really be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But there was neighboring cover, and now it's gone.
Yeah,
and I'm betting the habits of those animals had been that way forever. like 30, 40 years probably. It was probably the same thing. And now that that's gone, I don't think you can duplicate it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping because I also had because we can hunt and we can bait in Washington, not in Spokane County right now with the CWD issue or whatever. But I'm not in Spokane County where I'm hunting. And I get up there and 3 of the 4 feeders had malfunctioned. They're little capsule auger fed deals that run on a solar panel, and one of them was jammed, which I've had happen before for one reason or another. It just gets bound up and it'll turn, but nothing's fallen into it. So you got to kind of stir it up. I fixed that one. And then the 2 of the batteries went bad, just randomly out of the blue went bad. Solar panel's working, everything's working. Battery just doesn't have any juice left in it. So replaced those, and then the feeders were working the rest of the time. So there's a small possibility that they're just, because I only really check them once a month. There's a small possibility there just wasn't food for a month and they moved on. But I still don't feel super optimistic.
Yeah, and your late season chances change because they don't need north face bedding during the late season. They're going to bed in warmer areas, different areas. Their bedding habits change with the season, so maybe late season works out or whatever.
Possibly, but they had to have moved quite a long ways away because whereby one of my neighbors that's on the next mountain slopes over, like a long ways, like a mile, he hadn't seen an elk either. And he would traditionally see them. And another neighbor of mine that owns the fields below, which is where they'd come out to every night, hadn't seen them in a while, which is weird because normally he would complain that they leave his place right before hunting season, 'cause he's a bow hunter, and they'd go up to my place. I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like they lived there.
Could be so lucky, yeah.
You'd spend an entire week there, and somewhere in that week they'd show up. Might be the first day, might be the last day, might be the 5th day where you choose to come back and edit a video instead. You just don't know, right?
Yeah.
Because it was so bad, because it was so slow.
And did you have any kind of plan B up there? Like, is there some other stuff that you would have went and bugled ridges or any of that shit going on?
I thought about it a lot, but that would all involve me making more of a footprint, right? Making more noise. I left that property one time after dark, and I drove out to my buddy Nick's house because I had these batteries with solar panels, and when it got really overcast and cloudy, they weren't charging as fast. They were charging, but at a lot slower rate, and I was either going to have to turn on a gas generator at some point or take one of the battery banks back to electricity and charge it. And so he had offered like multiple times. He's like, hey, if you want to come crash here, spend the night, take a shower, get clean.
Yeah.
No, I
Scrub
take
your
that
biscuits?
back. I went down in the middle of the day, almost every day. I drove down to the river and jumped in the river and cleaned off and smoothed out, which there was a reel or two or a story that I'd posted, and I was like, I didn't have a shirt on and my hair was all jacked up. It's probably because I just got out of the river. But so I did that every day. Well, it was hot because the first 4 days were hot as balls, like 90, 95 every day, sweating your biscuits off bad. But once it cooled off, I wasn't doing that anymore because I wasn't sweating like I was before. And so I opted to throw the battery bank in the truck and drive back to his house, spent the night at his house, and got up, picked up a couple of supplies and drove back in, was back into the camp by like 10 a.m.
So you're going to be able to make much more of this month left?
Yeah, I still have...
You're going to get some stuff in?
I'm kind of just giving up on Washington for the early season. And I'll be hunting in Idaho the rest of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little, 3-day jaunts or what have you here or there.
Yeah.
Because it's not too terribly far. And it's been so hot, it hasn't been great yet, but I'm getting some reports of decent stuff. I know Dan just killed an elk yesterday or the day before.
Oh, really?
In Idaho. Yeah.
Oh, did they post it about it?
Yeah, he posted this morning.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it
You
yet.
hadn't seen that? Yeah. It was on on when I turned it on this morning. So I'm assuming you shot it yesterday or today or something.
Let me look it up.
Yeah.
This is very exciting.
Yeah, well, I know he killed the one in New Mexico.
Yep, I saw that.
But yeah, he posted this morning, I want to say.
Oh. Yes, he did. Waited a pinch point.
Yeah. And he had, and I know it had to be because Tyler left Monday. So, and Tyler was there. So it had to be
Tyler and
yesterday.
Josh were down there.
Yeah,
it
Josh
says.
was already there.
Yeah.
Josh had been there
Crowd
for
Italy's.
a while, but
And all
yeah,
the
no-
talk about him shooting different broadheads through the year, and what's he go back to?
well, he shot the first bull with
Yeah.
Iron Will, and then he shoots a micro Hades with this one.
Old Faithful.
Yeah,
He always works back to Old Faithful. And it is a good Faithful, honestly.
it's a very good, reliable broadhead.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's a very nice
I just don't know why that changed. He must have not been happy with the blood trail
blood
or something on
yeah.
the other one, which is, I know in the past that's usually been his gripe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the reality of it is that type of construction is traditionally not going to give you
It's not going to yield as much blood.
trail.
Yeah.
It's not going to put as much blood on the ground, but it's going to penetrate better, and it's more likely to survive a hard bone impact.
Mm-hmm.
Like that design and that shape is more likely to survive it. It's what it's designed to do. Right. So it's kind of hard to, make that argument. I almost guarantee you, which I haven't talked to him yet.
Well, very good. Congrats to him. That's
Yeah. So he's 2 down, and I know he's going to Utah here pretty soon.
Yeah, and that's that's an OTC tag that anyone could have in their pocket, and those hunts can be challenging.
Yeah, he posted his previous post to that was something about striking out a bunch and the number of people that he kept running into and whatnot, like 19 other hunters or something like that.
Yeah.
It's rough, man, and you're all dealing with the same problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all tough. It just is, and even when you're picking like the best units that you can get a tag for in the state, you're still dealing with struggle.
Yeah.
Like there's real struggle no matter what.
And those all get educated, and because they're educated over years, like the minute they start to see pressure, their behavior patterns change. So it might, whatever that day is in August, that they start to feel like they're hunted, or September, they go and they got programs, you know, and those programs include being away from people and talking less, vocalizing less. Like, hunting those kind of hunts are different. Yeah. And I never really had that perspective until I got to do like a true, really high quality hunt where it's a controlled draw.
Right.
It's like, holy smokes, this is way different. This is way different when you can bugle and elk will bugle back willingly, and it's just different. It's a different experience. So gotta think outside the box a little bit and put in a lot of effort a lot of times.
Yeah, sometimes in a lot of those instances, you're not doing any calling.
Yeah.
You're just following what they're doing and where they're going. And like his story said, which is a good example, you wait in a pinch point and hope they walk by you.
Yeah.
It's your best bet.
I've got the itch right now. I'm stuck. I don't know if purgatory is the right word, but I'm stuck in the gray area where I'm not able to get resident tags yet in Idaho.
Yeah.
I don't have non-resident tags in Idaho. I don't have tags in my former home state. So it's just a real weird year for me, and I really have the itch right now for elk as I get to see all my friends out doing elk stuff. It'll all work itself out, but it's just weird to not be a part of that.
It's the sacrifice you make for 1 year.
Yeah.
It's tough. You gotta time it right, and you don't always get to time it right.
Right.
And
You
the
don't
time
always
you
get to
had
time
this
right.
year basically mean you need to sacrifice this year, which you could have bought non-resident elk tags at the beginning of the year and still used them and been Idaho hunting right now. But you kind of planned this to begin with, like you've been talking about it for a while, and this was your intent, and it worked out.
Yeah, and it worked out great from a business cycle perspective. The timing's awesome for me to be able to put time into renovating a place. But for a hunting season, it's pretty much destroying it until, or I'll probably see light in the middle of October, and I could make things happen from the middle of October to the end of the year. So I just got to kind of look at what those possibilities and potentials are. But
You could non-resident OTC Washington elk for late season.
oh god,
Good luck with that success rate.
yeah, good luck. Yeah.
Oh, and don't forget you can't bait in Spokane County right now either. Yeah, you can't OTC an elk tag in Idaho anymore. I think the last resale they did is done. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And I have like a bear tag in Idaho, but honestly, by the time I'm freed up to bear hunt, it's going to be just about that sweet time where they're starting to disappear. So we'll see. I'll make an effort. And the other thing I'm also open to now is I'm also open to just filming cool experiences, being a part of other people's hunts, which isn't the same as hunting, but it is time in the field. And
Scratch that itch a little bit.
Scratch that itch a little bit.
There's probably still some landowner tags somewhere you could buy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what pops up, sneaks up.
Well,
I do.
There was a second part of the season that the New Mexico landowner tag I was looking at. I think they had the alternative one too, which goes to like the 28th. You could buy that right now and leave. Quit your bitching. Let's go.
Let me see. Let me get my PayPal open and I'll head into Mexico.
Yeah. Might get a hell of a deal on it right now.
But it is nice now to be towards where I feel like I see light. Like I'm mostly done with most of the things that I need to be done with. Mm-hmm. You know, there'll always be things that I want to do, but you know, I'm getting close to being done, say 80% done with the things I need to do.
Being a homeowner that's not afraid to renovate your house, you're never done.
Right.
Because there's always something you can do.
There's always something I can do. But the things I need to do, they're on their final days. So that's good.
It's got to feel good.
Yeah, it is good. Here's a fun fact for you. Okay, imagine you have a 135-degree inside wall. Okay. Do you know 135 degrees?
Yeah,
can you visualize that?
Yeah, sure.
So you have a 135-degree inside wall, and you need to trim that. Okay. So when you go to trim that 135-degree inside wall, I was looking at this, and in my head, I'm thinking, there's a way they can overlap, but I couldn't put it together. Like, there's a way that works that they can overlap. So I got on the YouTubes, and I'm like, how do I trim this out? And certainly, one of the first videos I pop up was 2 46-degree angles overlap on a 135-degree inside angle. Do you know that?
Huh.
I want to show it to you. I think I might have took a photo. It overlaps really nicely. I think there's another way to do it where they connect, but they overlap. Yeah. Tell me I took a photo of it. I want to show this to you because it's hard to visualize without seeing it.
Sure. I get that.
Yeah. I'll bring this guy's video up so you can see what it looks like. But yeah, basically, you know, like a bay window would be a good example of where you have a 135-degree inside angle.
Sure.
And being able to cut both of those at 45 and overlap them makes it way easier than trying to get them to intersect. So shout out to this guy for saving me some time.
Yeah, thank God for YouTube saving the day again.
Yeah, there he goes. YouTube's
yet another reason why we like YouTube.
Yeah,
there's so much information out there.
You decided on doing some home reno, right?
Oh yeah, I've already started. I'm taking on a lot of projects in this house actually. Completely redoing the kitchen. I've already
watch what that guy's about to do right there.
Dug out the egress. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
See what's happening there?
Yeah. Oh, that's cheating.
Yeah, it is cheating.
That's totally cheating.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah. Easy peasy. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. That's awesomely cheating.
And that was actually where my instincts went to when I was looking at it. I was like, there has to be a way, but I couldn't put it together. And then I was like, no, they must just butt them together. And that came up.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's very nice.
So yeah, I've already started rerouting plumbing and whatnot that goes to the kitchen. I started the other day redoing where my laundry room's going to go and where my water heater's going to go. Move some plumbing, move some drains. Nailed in some boxes for electrical. Furred up a couple walls so I can. My goal by the end of this week is to get the washer and dryer moved to where it goes, which is still feasible to get to here pretty quick. Anytime you got to plan on turning the water off to your house for a period of time, you got to plan that out ahead of time, just so. Yeah. Because currently, the water that goes to my house also goes to the archery shop. Oh. So if I shut it off, it shuts the water off to the archery shop too. Now it's downhill from here, so there's still some pressure in the lines. Yeah. So you might be able to use a little bit for once or twice, but then it's going to go dead on you. And I don't have to have it off for very long, but still I'm real cautious of that. And that's part of the plus of rerouting my water line into the house that I already did, but I haven't tapped into it yet, is I can segregate the house from the archery shop. So I can turn the archery shop's water off and it doesn't turn my house off, and vice versa. So that'll be nice in the future. I think it'll end up turning off a frost free or something here or there in between, but the main water that goes to the house will no longer be on and off, separate from the archery shop. But get that done. I've got pouring a new wall in the back for the kitchen. I'm going to add about 4 feet to the kitchen bathroom area. It's in there, and rip the whole thing out and start over. Got it completely.
So you got a lot of little projects going on.
That's just that area. I'm adding a bathroom a Jack and Jill bathroom into the bedrooms that are over here, knocking out a wall and adding a roof line over here in the master and putting a bathroom and a walk-in closet in the master, changing the other bathroom that's upstairs so it transitions easier and enters in from one of the bedrooms. So each bedroom, basically any bedroom that you stay in here, you'll be able to walk into a bathroom without having to leave the bedroom. And another bathroom right here. So, which I've already started that too. So there'll be just a small little toilet and sink right here.
Yeah.
That if you are visiting the pool area or whatnot, and you need to change, you walk in 5 feet inside the door, and there's a bathroom right there.
If you're filming a video with Josh, you got to take a leak.
If you're filming a video with me and you got to take a leak, you don't got to walk all the way through the house to the other side.
Yeah.
Because all the plumbing was on that side of the house. Like nothing came this way.
So for a person who doesn't understand your history, basically you took over your parents' house.
Yes.
Shipped mom out.
Built mom a McMansion that's fabulously nicer than my house.
Yeah, shipped
said,
mom
"Here,
out
you can live over there."
a sweet little spot next door. Speaking of, I haven't really seen it since it's been done, but I saw it up to about 90%. And she's got a great spot. So
it's hard to beat.
So
that
this
house,
is all
man.
yours now, and you're making it your own or whatever.
Trying. Like I said, there's a lot to do, and it'll be a couple of years before it's all done, and it'll be a lot of work. But the number one thing is and always was the kitchen was tiny and wonky, and the transitions into the kitchen were bad. And it's like the first thing I think Mom moved out, and that day I was knocking out walls.
It's like a traditional older house. Like most older houses, they have a lot of rooms. They're compartmentalized.
Yeah, very much compartmentalized. Doesn't.
Do you think
flow
that was
well.
that for heating and shit?
I think it could have very well been from heating. I think they originally when they built this house, because it's 160 years old now. I think they cooked outside. I think before they added that kitchen on, they didn't have indoor plumbing, right? And
so that was like a mud room, I bet.
That was probably like the mud room and outdoor cooking area, right? You'd have an open flame outside and then bring the food inside and eat it, right? I think that's how it started, and then that's where the only plumbing was in the entire house originally. Was they added on to the house there and made a bathroom, kitchen, laundry room, one space, really small. And it was made in such I guess it's probably how they used to do stuff back in the day. No insulation, 1x10 and 1x10 at an angle, and a 2x6 rough cut at the top. And that's the whole wall. And then plaster over the top of it, like that metal mesh and plaster over the top of it. I'm like, wow.
No.
Like all the electrical was in conduit, and just like the entire kitchen has no insulation, which explains why the freaking freezes so easily in there. Because that's where we've had when all the pipes froze last year. They were all in the kitchen.
Yeah. So you've always been a pretty big fan of your Blackstone, right?
I am a massive fan of the old Blackstone. Every man should have a Blackstone and a Traeger.
Well, I just got
every person who likes to cook should have a Blackstone.
I just got a Blackstone.
Yeah.
That was just such a great happenstance story. I went to Costco one week and they had Blackstones there. Mm-hmm. And I was going to go back the next week and pick up a Blackstone, and they weren't there.
Yeah, you got to get them when they get them there, man, because it's always a good deal that they have on them.
And I was telling my buddy, I was like, I was trying to pick up a Blackstone. Blackstones aren't there anymore. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, my father-in-law just gave me his Blackstone, said he didn't want it. He's like, it's just sitting in my garage. I was like, what are you going to do with it? He's like, I'm trying to get rid of it. I was like, well, bring it over. So brought the Blackstone over, and it's freaking perfect, dude. It was like, it's almost better than buying new because I didn't have to put something together.
Yeah, you do have to build them for sure.
You got to build everything. It sucks.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, so it was put together, rolled it out, plugged in a propane tank, and sizzled up some steaks. And it was great, dude. And what I like about a Blackstone or that style is I always like searing steaks in a pan because you get that good sear across the whole thing.
Yep.
And you can do the same thing on a Blackstone. It's just like cooking on cast iron. Like you get that whole sear across, not just your grill marks.
That's right.
So you can get that true crispy edge. So, and you throw some veggies on it or whatever and sizzle those up too.
Yeah, the hardest thing to beat for me if you're doing like a steak and veggies is I like to cook it on a Traeger at a lower temperature and let it get to 5 degrees to the temp that you want to eat it at.
And then sear it.
And have your Blackstone on high.
Yep.
You can cook your veggies or whatnot or whatever you want to have with it on your Blackstone while you're waiting. And when it hits that temp, pull it off and give it a get the sear on both sides. Nothing better than that, man.
I guess if there was one complaint about a Blackstone, it's probably that they run at higher temps, even when it's turned down all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, you can isolate one burner, turn it down all the way, and definitely cook at a low temp, but they want to be running a little hot.
It's definitely not a low temp cooking device.
Yeah.
No, that's where your Traeger will crush it, because you can set that thing at whatever temperature you want, and it'll maintain it well. Where a Blackstone, like I rarely ever cook on my Blackstone when it's not on low.
Yeah.
Like all the way across on low, period. So, but it cooks really evenly too. There's very few like hot or cold spots in it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've been cooking on barbecues and stuff for a long time, you'll learn there's hot spots and cold spots.
Oh yeah, totally. You get to know your grill. You like.
Yeah.
And that's where you rotate the items that you don't want cooking as fast.
Right.
But yeah, it does heat very evenly, and I'm very pro Blackstone. I'm pro Blackstone now.
Should I answer that while we're doing this?
Sure. Yeah, just answer and tell them we're on the pod.
Hey, Dan, you're on the pod with me and Tim right now.
Dan,
What's up, dude?
Dan, you're live on Josh and Tim right now.
What you say, Jerry?
You are live on Josh and Tim's podcast right now, dude. We're filming.
Why are you guys hunting?
Well, Tim boycotted hunting because he's a construction guy now, and I'm in between hunting. I'll be hunting next week.
Okay, let me ask Tim. Can Tim hear me?
Yeah, congrats on the bull.
Hey, thanks, dog. Where are you? I don't know if you can say on your phone, but I'm off Highway 41. Are you near me?
41. Yeah, I'm not that far. Yeah.
All right. Are you building?
No, I bought a spot. That was already made, and then I just decided I was only going to do a small reno, and it turned into a big reno.
Yeah. Congratulations, Idaho resident.
Yeah, so it feels great. The air is just a little cleaner over there. You know what I mean?
For real. Congrats, man. I'm proud for you. That's cool. I haven't even stepped foot in. My whole family's living there, and I haven't even been to that house yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you're going to come home. It's going to be awesome.
I can't wait. I was going to tell Josh thanks for the thing that he did.
Yeah.
I can say it on your pod.
Yeah, you can't say it. I can call you back. Did you use it at all?
I just used it this morning a little bit, and I was like, God dang, Josh knows what he's doing.
Yeah, everything line up okay? It should.
I mean, yeah, you put site tape 7 on it, and it's checking out perfectly. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
thank you. I was just calling to say thank you. Honestly, that was it. So.
okay. Well, you're welcome. Like I said, I take a little pride in being able to do that for you. I enjoy it, and hopefully you get to get something bloody with it here real soon. But you're racking them in. It's a little easier year for you this year than last year, huh?
It's never easy. I'll tell you that.
That's not a fair phrase to put it, but you're having more luck this year than last year. How about that?
I'm getting a little longer in the tooth, making some better decisions.
There you go. A little less impulsive.
I'm gonna try to go get Tyler Denham on. I'm gonna be his caller. So I'm heading back up the mountain right now to be. And honestly, I don't think he even wants me to help him. So I might be stuck at camp just shooting a bow. But
Well,
I'm here to help pack out.
there's definitely worse things to do, and it's always good to return the favor when somebody else packs your stuff out with you.
That's right. What do you guys talk about in the pod today?
We were talking about the crispy thing that we inaccurately mentioned, and my horrible elk hunting experience at my property, and a little bit of Tim's reno.
Yeah, Blackstone Grills.
Blackstone Grills, and probably about another 15 minutes worth of stuff here, something like that, just judging off the time.
What did you guys say inaccurately about crispy?
So we originally went to watch the crispy video live on the pod and talk about it because it was getting so spicy, but the video was gone. Like he took it down.
Oh,
So we had to go off. Yes, we had. Yeah, we had.
start to finish.
So it's apparently there was an edit after the first one, and he re-released it a second time, and then he took it down altogether.
Live and learn. Live and learn. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, what an idea. But we didn't realize that he had shot 2 water buffalo, and on the first one, he took a frontal on the first one.
Better wrap it up.
What was that?
Better wrap it up.
Yeah. So, but yeah. That's right.
We're all human.
We are, and that's kind of the emphasis of what we're saying. But
Yeah.
All right, buddy. We'll keep
right.
hunting hard.
yeah, get after it, man.
Hi, friends.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Good job. Wow, what a deal.
Yeah,
Great
the odds
timing.
of that.
Little remote guest appearance.
Yeah, well, too bad he wasn't FaceTiming.
Live
He put a
from the
screen on it.
field.
Live from the field. Daniel Staten.
Live from the field. That's a great segment.
2 down. I think he has 4 tags.
We need a live from the field segment with our podcast listeners.
There you go.
Call
There you
us
go.
in with your updates. Maybe we'll get a flip phone, a jitterbug for the pod.
There you go.
Yeah. I love hearing people's hunting stories, man. I really do. Yeah.
We'll have to have him on again when he's done. Have him go over his whole
Yeah.
massacre.
Which is
of
quite
things.
a
It's
quite
pretty
a deal.
elaborate compared to
Imagine
most.
leaving your house for 30 days. Have you ever done that?
No, but I'd be happy to.
Would you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I nothing. Like I've felt tired for like the last year.
Yeah.
Last Thursday was the first day I can remember that I didn't feel tired because I was gone for. That would have completed a week of being gone without having to go do something. Like it wasn't like I left here to go, to go to attack or go to a manufacturer or go to an event or that kind of thing. I left to go hunting, my low-key hunting property, which is the intent, and I rested a lot, and I finally felt rested. Like I haven't felt rested in a long time. So I would think being gone from home for 30 days would be totally fine with me because it almost seems like there's a little less chaos for me being gone than being home because my mind goes so much and I'm staring down the barrel of the things I need to do when I'm here. If I leave here, there's only so much I can do.
It's good you have that separation when you're gone.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when people are gone, it gets worse for them because they feel like, oh, they should be doing something and it's away from them. But I can understand what you're saying. Yeah. It's a good thing to be able to disconnect to reconnect kind of deal.
Yeah, I definitely felt that way.
Yeah.
I was very relieved. And that's part of why I decided not to do the New Mexico thing.
Yeah.
Which would have been great. I mean, the feedback that I got from it would have been good. It's just, he did mention he didn't seem to see as many bigger bulls as he really felt he should have in the area. There was plenty of elk, just not as many bigger bulls. And, I would have not taken the week that I was going to take to go up to my property. I would have ended up being up there for like 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 max. And was it a worse hunting opportunity? Yeah. But I got my reset, and I totally feel reset and focused and energized and rested.
That's a very good thing.
And I haven't felt that way in a while.
It's a very good thing.
It's good.
I don't always feel that way when I come back from elk hunting. I usually feel a little haggard, but I do feel clear, I guess, mentally. Man, I'm looking into 2025, and I think I'm gonna do all the things I want to do in 2025.
All of them, all the things.
Well,
Line them up. What do you got?
spring bear
Of course,
up north, probably
like a real trip.
to the deep north. Yeah, real trip. I've been putting off moose for a while, and I have a couple moose options that could be good.
Talk to me.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. Probably better not to blow them up on the pod.
Okay.
But moose
'Cause
options.
I'd like to do that. I haven't done that.
Yeah, moose options. Gotta have an elk hunt. I like to think I could do both a mule deer hunt and an elk hunt in the same season.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think I could, but with moose in there, that could get mixy. But mule deer hunt's really grown on me.
Oh, I love me.
I like the style. I like the vantage points. I like the chess game.
Yeah.
It's different than elk hunting for sure. And then after that, I mean, a good year rounds out with just some kind of whitetail hunt in the rut. Yeah, which might be a lot different next year, particularly if it's over in the home state. I haven't had to hunt deer without the use of bait.
Yeah.
And fortunately, my last year or two in Washington, I did some non-bait stuff that I think I learned quite a bit. So I feel
it's amazing how effective those things are.
Oh, they can be super effective. And the thing is, I think it feels good to see deer, but if you're not hunting over bait, your chances of seeing a bigger buck in a better mindset are much higher.
Oh, yeah. Like when they come into bait, they know it's a threat.
Yeah, they know it's a threat. They're guarded. You're not going to see them. Oftentimes, you're not going to see them acting normal.
No, or daylight.
Yeah,
It's
or
almost
daylight.
always like
Yeah.
the worst lighting condition you can be.
So
Yeah.
if you could hunt a pinch point or you can hunt away from, you might only see a couple deer during the season or something. But if one of those deer is that mega buck, it's all that matters, right?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you, our boy James is coming up to visit here at the end of the month.
Yeah, he talked.
First
I
part.
know he talked about it. He mentioned something. He called me the other day and he said he wanted to do it, but he picked some dates or something.
Yeah. You're messaging talking about when he could do it because he's coming up to do Cam's Lift Run Shoot.
Yeah,
He's going to be on Cam's podcast.
he mentioned that.
And
He's
he
been all
wants-
cryptic to me about it too. He's like, "I'm going to do this big thing. I can't tell you what it was. I didn't poke at him that much." I'm like, "James, what are you hiding that for? Like, I know you. I know Cam. What are you hiding the possibility of you doing Cam's podcast for?"
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he just felt like whatever. He
Well,
wanted to surprise me, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. In any event, he told me he wants to break the record and needs me to help him build something that can do it. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Nice.
It's easy. Because I
Nice.
guess the record on that's like 172 or something.
Oh yeah, he'll break the record because you can, if the record was in a certain amount of tries. But that to be said, I mean, he might not even be aiming at the balloon because there's a little,
Oh, I'm going to get him aiming at the balloon.
no, not that. Like where you would shoot from, you might not be able to see the balloon. I think that's why 172 is the record because that's probably as far back as they could be at Wayne's property.
Oh, really?
Because Wayne's property's, it's got this little,
I've been there.
and the way they stretch it back, I remember filming from back there, you start to lose that sight. So,
Oh, gotcha.
but maybe they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
Interesting.
And
Well, he's only sighted to like 130 right now, so we got to change some things around to get him
Yeah.
that distance. But yeah, I was like, yeah, if there's only got a couple days, we can go out to my cousin's and use his range to dial it in, make sure it's really perfect. And
it'll be fun. It'd be cool to see
before
him
you head
again.
down there. Yeah,
Yeah.
knock out some content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, you were talking to the ranch a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We,
You in the ranch?
oddly enough, which I didn't like pick up my phone a lot when I was hunting.
Right.
And one morning I was killing some time, and for one reason or another, I went, oh, I'm just going to pull up YouTube.
Yeah.
And the first thing that popped up in my feed is his and Ashby's discussion, which I thought was really good personally. I watched it from beginning to end. I thought everything was presented really well and relatively well explained, but there was a couple of things I didn't quite understand. And so I tried calling him because I have his phone number, and he messaged me back. He's like, I'm working in Cleveland. I'll have to call you in a day or two or something. He called me back, and one of the comments that was made in there from Ashby, which he's said many times, is that the bone breaking threshold for hard bone, which is like sockets and things like that, it's like big, heavy pieces, not scaps and things of that nature, is 650 grains. And consequently, the amount of energy you put behind it doesn't really change anything. And I couldn't, and I might be saying that slightly incorrectly the way you said it, but it's like it doesn't seem to be different when you go from a 50-pound recurve to a 80-pound compound. It seems to do the same thing. And I couldn't wrap my head around that. And I was like, explain it to me. And the first thing he said to me is, well, we're really not 100% sure, but we're trying to figure out why. But as long as you have a broadhead with a 2.6 mechanical advantage, which from what I understand means it's at least 2.6 as long as it is wide. So the more narrow your broadhead is and longer it is, the easier it is to break bone, which is very true. And I want to say the Ashby head is a 3-to-1. It's 3 inches long, 1 inch wide.
Mm-hmm.
Two blade primarily. I think it has to be to fracture that bone correctly to make it cut clean and not have the resistance. And the premise on it, and Ashby, I think I can look it up actually. He gave an explanation because after that video created that same comment. And when I called him and asked him that, he's like, "That's exactly what I thought you were going to ask me." Because I don't get it. But let me see if I can find this. Ashby was commenting something to do with the when you hit something really hard like that it equates almost completely down to mass. It's like the amount of energy you shot out of it almost doesn't matter because the mass has to be of such to crack the bone. And then once you've cracked the bone, all of the mechanical advantages that you've put into that arrow then take effect. And I want to try to find a way to show that. Like, is that real and true? which, mind you, this is only relevant if you're shooting through a freaking, like, the hardest part of the bone on the body of an animal, which in theory, I would hope you're not specifically aiming for unless you're building it for that purpose.
And that'd be a very small, like if you're looking at the mass of an animal, that miss would be very small compared to where the other spots you might miss.
That's very correct. Yes.
Right.
You're putting yourself in a confined space to try to find an ideal shot position and an ideal impact point, which if you hit there, it's great, but you're running a higher risk, which is part of why the philosophy is what it is for what they're doing with them, right? Shooting that excessively heavy stuff and that elongated cut angle will pass through harder things, so you don't have to avoid them,
Right.
which is all the premise of it. But I know it's in here. Talk about it for a second, would you?
I'm not super versed on it. At the premise Josh is describing is 650 grains is the threshold that has been spoke about for a while. Like, it seems like there's a bit of a magic number to it as far as what it's done with bone breaking stuff. Now,
Okay, here we go. I think I
I
got it.
think he's finding it.
Hold on. Where's the? Gosh dang it! Important for Josh.
My thoughts are,
Go ahead.
this is an interesting point, but also we should understand that we're talking about an extreme deal. Like, it's unlikely that we're going to shoot a socket. It's very unlikely. Have you ever shot a socket?
No, I haven't. And that's typically the argument that we're making. And that's part of where there's such a polar opposite of philosophy here and the arguments of how wrong each other person is, because they're not talking about the same thing. And everyone relates them back to the same thing. This is the tool you have to hunt, and this is the tool you have to hunt. No, not at all. This is the tool you have to hunt if you want to shoot something at 20 yards up close and not care about the shot angle and put it wherever you want and point on the vitals and you're going to go through it. That's very true. This is the tool you want to use if you're shooting a variable amount of distance where time to target matters, overall drop matters, ability to shoot farther away matters. Those things are all relevant. Does shooting a heavier arrow help you with penetration at a longer distance? Sure. But it also takes an eternity to get there, and you lose your a massive amount of distance when you start shooting stuff that heavy. 650, 700 grains, your drop's going to be such that you can't even shoot very far without running out of sight range. But I have the email that he sent me here. He said, this was Ashby's explanation of why you need 650 grains on a bone and why it really doesn't matter. Said, in the newer testing, 2001 to date, all with modern high-performance compound bows, the outcomes have shown no movement in the 650 grain heavy bone threshold. How is that possible? This is because not all momentum amounts carry the same degree of importance to the arrow's ability to penetrate the bone. Momentum is mass x velocity. As an arrow lies through a dense medium such as tissue, it sheds its velocity rapidly while its mass remains constant. Because of this, the amount of the arrow's momentum derived from arrow mass is more important than the amount of the momentum derived from the velocity. Thus, the arrow's momentum of impulse is longer. It pushes on the bone longer, permitting its momentum to overcome the bone movement due to bone attachments and bone flexation. An arrow must overcome these factors, bone movement and bone flexation, before it begins to penetrate the bone. The energy absorbed by bone movement and flexation severely degrades the arrow's velocity, but does not affect its mass. The contribution of arrow mass to the arrow's momentum is not affected by bone movement or bone flex, which does make sense to me when I think about it, but I still look at, but if you still have that same amount of mass moving faster, you would think it would matter.
Well, let's think about this for a second. If we dropped both a feather and a bowling ball off of a building, one of them has got a better chance of cracking the concrete, right?
Sure.
So how heavy does that thing need to be to crack the concrete? Because at some point it doesn't pick up velocity.
Friends, foes, fellow bow hunters, whether you shoot an 800 grain arrow or a 400 grain arrow, we appreciate your support. Speaking of support, head on over to jocko.com. Use coupon code Josh and Tim to save a little money on these glorious little things. And head on over to podiumarchery.com for all those archery needs, and make sure to use coupon code TIMC to save yourself a little money. Subscribe, leave it a review, and let's get back to the pod. Well, I think the premise, I don't think that's a fair comparison, and
Sure.
I'll tell you why. I think the premise of this is it takes a certain amount of mass to have enough in it to crack bone that big. And I think that's the point. It's like if you simply don't have the mass, it simply won't do it. But the way to test that is a relatively simple one. Mind you, that all falls into still having a broadhead that has a 2.6 mechanical advantage or better. So it better be at least 2.6 inches long and 1 inch wide, or it's like a loss of half, according to the test that they did, to break that heavy bone. And mind you, this was all intended for how to kill Cape buffalo, how to kill water buffalo, which is how it kind of loops back into the Chris Bead discussion. That's what it's intended for. We're not hunting that, right? So this is all the emphasis of overkill. But some of the conversations because I ended up talking to Ranch for probably half hour, 45 minutes, and we've been messaging back and forth since then quite a bit. They were discussing what speed in an object does once you start trying to shoot through it. And if you're shooting less speed in some instances, it'll actually penetrate better with a bullet, depending on the bullet's dimension, because it creates so much more drag because of the velocity. Like they're finding things that penetrate better at slower, like with the same weight bullet, the same caliber. Like there's so many different 30 calibers, right?
Yep.
Like have a 30 caliber that's shooting a bit slower will actually out-penetrate one that's shooting faster with the same bullet in it. And I'm just like, what? How in the world does that make any sense? So it's all really intriguing, and I'm not trying to say one way is right and one way is wrong by any means. I'm just trying to get the answer to the equation of what we're talking about and be able to share that information better with the public. Once again, I go back to the same thing of, what Ranch Fairy's saying isn't necessarily wrong, and what, like T-Bone's saying isn't necessarily wrong, or what Aaron Snyder's saying isn't necessarily wrong, or what we're saying isn't necessarily wrong, right? It depends on the application and what you're trying to do with it. There's advantages and disadvantages regardless, but that whole mass to break heavy bone threshold, regardless of energy put behind it, I want to prove or disprove that. Like I really do. I want to know, because that still doesn't make sense in my head. I understand Ashby's explanation for it, and that does make sense, but I still struggle to see that like if I was shooting an 80-pound compound tuned correctly with an adequate spine arrow, which I think that's where this stuff's falling short. And that's what I told him. I was like, well, my assumption would be that you didn't have an adequate enough spine or a well enough tuned bow to get the right result of what you were trying to do. Because even a little bit of out of alignment orientation to that arrow is bleeding energy really bad.
Yeah.
And when you start shooting those kind of speeds and those kind of weights of things, with the kind of cams that they make today, which absorb energy like crazy and need spine, they might not make a stiff enough arrow to take a 300 grain front end or a 400 grain front end and put it on any arrow and get it to not flex past its point. And that might be where you're running into it. But I don't know. I mean, they could have done it all right, and that just might be the case, period. But we've been having some good conversations. I'm hoping I might be able to help and contribute to this a little bit, because I don't want to disprove what they've said. I just want to understand it better.
Sure.
Like I'm all for, hey, you can be right, but I want to see how it's right and understand how it's right. I'm not trying to say you're wrong.
Right.
I just what you're saying doesn't back up any equation that you do.
Yeah.
In that specific part, right?
And the basis of science is like, once something has been proven, is to try to disprove it, right?
That science is constantly disproving what existed.
Yeah.
That's the evolution of science.
So it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person either to say that this theory.
No, it's just there's such a following to what they're saying, because it does work, right? And the average guy who's probably doesn't have the time, the effort, the energy to really tweak his stuff is going to find that to be a really good outcome for him. And the hunting public guys follow his philosophy, and there's a large reason why, because it does work.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, is there some things in here that are getting overlooked?
Well,
and we can find something in the middle that's actually maybe a little more true for everyone's philosophy.
There's just some other considerations, I think, and he's just leaning into one side of the conversation, which is how do you typically, this is a generalization, how do you create the most penetration? Which isn't always necessarily the question you want to answer. It's what is an adequate amount of penetration with the thing that's going to give you forgiveness to harvest your animal,
Right.
which means a lot of things. Forgiveness could mean more blood. Forgiveness could mean better trajectory. Forgiveness could mean less time to target, right? All of those things provide forgiveness in a less than ideal situation. If you're shooting a tight window and there's branches in that window, typically a flatter arrow will fly through that unless you wanted more lob, which, uncommon, but also more lob would allow that animal more time to react.
Right.
So I think it's just if you want to have that conversation at an honest level, you want to have all of those factors under consideration and then know those factors and make the best decision you can with the knowledge and information you have for the animal you're hunting. I look at successful public land hunters. Brian Barney is a great example. He's not old as dirt, but he's been having success in the mountains for as long as I can remember. And he's frankly one of the best public land bow hunters I can think of who gets it done consistently. And he's not a long draw guy, and he shoots like a 425 grain arrow.
Well, there's a reason that's why it's the most common, though.
So
right?
when I look at, where do I want to get examples of successful from, I look at people who are doing it in the field on the game animals that I'm interested in.
Sure.
And Brian's a great example of that. And oftentimes he'll choose a mechanical as well, which is, to me, is actually pretty surprising because, he's not shooting an extremely high energy setup, but he's getting adequate penetration and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of it, is that not every application is right for every person.
Right.
Right. And I think the majority of who ranch is following is probably entry level to mid level whitetail deer hunters, right? Which are experiencing very similar things to a lot of what he's doing, which he's shooting pigs because he's got an infinite amount of pigs that need to get shot.
Yeah.
Right. And once again, 20 yards, feeder, that kind of thing. That's a good setup for that. There's nothing wrong with doing that for that personally. And I'd said it before. Somebody put in my comments is like, well, but if a light arrow is the best thing ever, why wouldn't you do it there? It's like, because the speed doesn't matter at this distance.
Or if it matters almost
very
exponentially less.
It's not a significant percentage of this at this closeness.
Yeah.
And why not make it more capable to shoot through something hard in case something went wrong in that scenario? And putting a heavier arrow through your bow makes your bow slower, makes it quieter. If you're shooting at 20 yards out of a ground blind or a tree stand, noise is a factor.
Yeah.
So those are all benefits to it. I don't disagree with that.
Those are all things to consider.
But the majority of the time, that's not what I'm doing.
In a well-rounded conversation, those are all the things. But at this stage in the game, I mean, modern compound bow hunting has been around for a good long while. Mm-hmm. And if we're to say, what is a really good successful setup? Like, we can look to hunters who have been getting it done in the field for 20 years and people that care a lot about what their setups are. And it's like, so we don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel. And if it sounds like something extreme, it may not be the best solution for that application.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, yeah, all good stuff, all good considerations. One thing to consider is the fire's out. You know what I'm saying?
Know what you're saying, bro.
Fire's out. Fun chat. It's good to get back in here. And I think we covered some good stuff today.
Yeah. Shout out to Dan for crashing our pod on the phone.
Crashing our pod and harvesting a bull.
Congratulations. Let's see if you can keep it up. You're 2 down. I think you got 2 to go, if I remember right. So.
Yeah. So right on.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to sign off today. Hope you're in the field. And if you're not in the field, hope you're getting in the field soon, getting ready for your season. Because it's here for a lot of people, man. It's on. It's on like Donkey Kong, Jack. And if you know who said that, that's like one of my most favorite ever TV stars. You know who said that?
It's on like Donkey Kong.
And it's on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to remember what
Jack.
that's from.
It's on like Donkey Kong, Jack.
Yeah, give me a hint. I know that. Oh my God, why can't
he's a very older gentleman.
Okay.
Part of a successful family in the outdoor business. I'll just keep going. Out of the southeast. Duck calls.
Oh, is that that's Duck Commander or whatever
Yeah.
they call it? I never watched that show.
That's Uncle Si.
Yeah, I never watched that show.
Uncle Si. Real character, man.
Yeah.
Real character. All right,
Yeah.
we're out.